You guys made a perfect fuck shit movie. And I guess just going back to the very beginning, like, what were your obsessions early on? Like, what were you reading, writing? What were you guys talking about? Like, this is the shit we want to do.
We conceived of this movie with no illusion that it would ever be made. And we kind of just, were beginning our friendship, which is very powerful now. But we were beginning this, like, through this, like, fantasy of making a movie as these, like, kind of guys who were trying to switch careers. I was like, yeah, I want to direct. He wants to write a script. Or I told him he should write a script because he'd been writing art criticism or film criticism and stuff. But
it's the same thing.
Yes. Anyway, it was all just like nothing. And then all of a sudden there was a guy with money, and he was coming from some weird corner of the world that we didn't really understand, and he was not going to be present. And he put basically, like, our producer Craig Buda all of a sudden in a bank account that was designed for this reception of $2 million happened, and this doesn't none of this makes sense to me still to this day, like how this movie was made. But the fuck shit thing is like, yeah, because we still were like living on this, like, you know, why this movie's never going to get made, and then it was getting made, and then we kept that spirit of like it's never going to get made through the entire production, I guess, sort of. And then now it got made, and now we have to like defend it, I guess. But
yeah, if I could piggyback a little off of
please explain
Sean's
this
comment. When people are like, oh, yeah, a film is so full of deliberate provocations. And it's like, dog, we never thought a single person would ever see this, much less have any opinion about anything that happened in it. This was just a real kismet thing.
I've worked on, like, for 25 years on movies that have been either never completed or completed and never seen, and then a few like squeaked out. But this one was like this we were just, I don't know. I also felt like the most unlikely things would just sort of make it maybe the most appealing. And also because then I was in charge of it, I guess, in a little bit, so I was like, okay.
The ensemble is fucking insane. Like, you bagged everyone. I know we talked before, maybe they weren't who they are now, but you blew up the prettiest face on TV, and then you got all these other people in there. I'm just wondering how casting went with all of that.
Who's the prettiest face on TV?
Jacob Elordi.
I had never seen any of these actors in anything other than I'd seen Simon Rex's music videos because, like, they meant a lot to me when I was in various periods of my life when I needed to just have a laugh. Dirt Nasty videos are great for a lot of things. I'd never watched Talia. I'd never seen Io. I'd never seen Jake. I'd never seen any of these guys in anything, and it was all just based on, like, who do you want to, like, hang out with and, like, work with. Also because I was very insecure about being a director, so I was like, I can't handle any egos. So these were all just people that were just like. And Jacob was the first person actually that got involved in the film, like, before we even had our money. He just read the script, his agent got it to him, and he was like, I want to make this has to happen, and that was cool. People who are really nice and cool and talented have good careers, and when they win Golden Globes, and you're like, wow. And actually a few people that I've worked with on other films that won Golden Globes this year, I think, they're really nice people. And that's so nice to see that can happen now.
It's not just eliciting like a feeling or something, but it's like curiosity. Like, I remember sitting there being like, I want to make a movie so fucking bad watching this movie because it gets you ramped up on the idea that you can do anything.
Yeah, we could do anything. Yeah, it was an experiment. I also, like, will we ever get to make another movie? Like, we got to put them up, and we have to, like, there's a lot of things we did in this movie that don't really, like, necessarily, like, fit, but.
And that's the definition of a fuck shit movie. I think that was a question.
I guess so, yeah.
But
the
that's
animation,
what it is.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how well thought out are the post-Erie Canal movie within a movie in this that I think our March Hare and Mad Hatter were doing. If they're like Alice in Wonderland inspired.
Everybody with the
We never, ever once thought about Alice in Wonderland when we were making this movie or anything. And it's been very fun doing these Q&As where people like make detailed, like, kind of comparisons and stuff.
I think Still It Churns, which is the name of the film within a film, I would love to actually watch this movie.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. And
The title was a reference to Josephine Decker's Butter on the Latch.
Jesus Christ.
Which is a movie that I really like. It's like one of these, like, kind of post-mumblecore movies that I really loved. But yeah, what would the movie? I mean, Jeremy and Io really improvised a lot on that pitch that they do or whatever, the explanation of what they were doing. It was a few lines in the script, but they went on and on. It was like an 8-minute take. They understood the movie better than I did, for sure.
How was it to write and direct from that female point of view as two men?
I'll let him talk about the writing, but even just trying to get the movie together and trying to speak to producers and things, their money, and yeah, it's why, especially in these years, why would you want to give money to a middle-aged guy to make a movie about a teenage girl? I was well, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a point of view that is still valid, or I don't know. I lost those arguments all the time. When we met Talia, which was she was the first person I actually seriously met. Once the movie was really happening, she was the first actor that I met and talked to. And that was annoying because she was so brilliant, obviously, and she met me in person when people were doing Zooms because they were afraid of COVID still. And I was well, she was the first person, so that's not much of a story. You don't cast the first person that talks to you for a role. But I met others, and then we went back, and she just understood the character, which is what we knew we really needed, somebody that was gonna understand it, and she did, and she really. And also, we were just getting to know her while we were making the movie, and we thought that maybe that actually was her. Lillian was Talia, and it's not at all, because we're great friends since, and she's not. And she made this thing make sense out of Nick's words. And Nick is pretty hip on modern culture, and internet stuff. Yeah, you're on more than me. Even though you have a flip phone, you're you still, you know how young people talk to each other, and you understand it. So,
I was a teenager at one time, and I know about feeling uncomfortable in myself and compromising the way I present myself to make myself more palatable to the people that I want to make myself palatable to, and it's frankly not a million miles away from what I think a young woman's experience of being a teenager would be, and I guess it's become kind of de rigueur to consider that everybody's fucking experience is completely a million miles removed from everybody else's. I don't actually think that's the case at all, so I was
I think Nick and I were not boys that were striving in athletic pursuits or any of the real super boy stuff, and we were probably definitely in the 90s. I'm sure that and again, obviously this is extreme things, but it's the experiences of it's kind of connecting with music and things like that, and we're kind of in the same boat a little bit, at that age. And then of course there's a lot more to it than that, but I didn't think that Talia was having a real hard time relating to our understanding of what we had written and trying to present.
And I would say obviously it was important for me if I could show the script to women and they seemed to think I was not completely full of shit with where I was coming from and feel like I had not completely missed the mark.
One, what inspired you to tell this story? Because it's kind of an Odyssey kind of feel to me, where it's just going from world to world, kind of on that journey of self-discovery. Where did that come from you and your perspective, and then how much did that change in the process of creating the actual film?
Really, the very, very basic genesis of it was early 2017. It was after the Trump election. That's not unimportant, but it was also just thinking about, as somebody who's at that time in his late 30s going into his early 40s, thinking about what the experience of a young person 20 years my junior, what that experience would be like when you're just being told constantly there's no hope at all, that economic, ecological catastrophe is on the way, that there's no hope at all, that the few identity kits that are available to you are so completely unfulfilling and just wanting to kind of explore that a little bit, and feeling a great sense of concern for and solidarity with a youth that I didn't really know, but I was really worried about.
But luckily, since then, everything's just been uphill. In the last few years, it's been, so we kind of made it a little too soon.
What advice would you give to new aspiring filmmakers that you've kind of learned over your own film journey that no one really taught you, but you'd like to give to people?
I have the corny thing, and then I also have I'm not the person to ask that question. That's one version. But also just not try to do what you think that is gonna resemble something that is successful. I think that's a mistake. And we've seen when we were working in video stores in the 90s and 2000s and everything, you see all these this garbage that's a fake Goodfellas, fake Pulp Fiction, fake Wes Anderson, fake. So it's that's just and then they go nowhere. So just I don't know. Also not everybody should be a filmmaker. I don't know. I mean, that's another thing. It's not that hard a job. I mean, I think a lot of the wrong people do it because it's actually it's fun. You go to college and you watch movies, and then you can say you're making a movie, and that's your job. I don't know. If you do what you think you need to see that you're not seeing, then that's what you should do. And then if it works or not, the problem is it's an industry. It's not just an art. So you've got to fit into a sort of a model, and the model is changing.
My own advice would be, rather than think about anything you should be doing career-wise, find people that you like, who you think are guided by pure cool reasons,
and be a lawyer.
And be a lawyer. All right. Just hook up with the people who you think are doing cool stuff, and not because you think you're gonna get anywhere, but because they're doing things that you want to do, and maybe it'll work out for you. And one day, you may sit in a movie theater in Atlanta, Georgia, having screened the film The Sweet East because you and some fucking moron that you enjoyed drinking with for 12 years have managed to pull a movie out of your ass, and also be a lawyer.
Thank you.
That deserves a round of applause, right?
There was some sincerity in it.